Hello, I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people that inspire me. You're in for a real treat today. Eric Evans is a classic California architect, and he's going to be sharing with us some of his wonderful properties that he has created. In 2013, he established Evans Architects, an independent design studio operating under the aegis of KAA Design. A fellow of the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art, better known as ICAA, and he is shaping the world as a home, The Houses and Gardens of Eric Evans, to be published by Rizzoli in September 2024. And I don't know if you can pre-order, but I would suggest you do because this guy really represents one of our famous classical architects. Eric, it's such a thrill to have you here. I'm just so happy to hear about your stories and the things that you've created.
Thank you, Joe. Such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Let's begin with the house in Agora Hills. Now, that is a representation of classic architecture, but it's a new build, right?
It is indeed, yeah. Brand new build we finished a few years ago, and I think it's definitely inspired by classic American architecture, and it's a house that we're really proud of.
It's unusual in California, though.
A little bit, I think. And, a lot of that comes, as many of our projects do, come out of a close interaction with our clients and understanding their history and their aesthetics and their passions. And I've always been drawn to classic American farmhouse architecture and rural architecture.
East Coasters or?
No, they're actually Southern Californians and have been here for a long, long time. Longtime residents of Agora Hills, actually. Uh-huh. Our clients' parents live in town there, so they have roots that go into that city for going back generations.
Well, that's the new spot.
Yeah,
that's where everyone seems to be headed.
Well, it's lovely there. It's close to town and connected to all the conveniences, but it feels rural. And they have a wonderful large property there, about 6 acres, which is quite extraordinary. And up on a hillside and looking towards the south, towards the Santa Monica Mountains, it's bucolic and beautiful.
Well, we have a lot in common because I'm the kind of person who likes to sketch on cocktail napkins. And
me too.
But now you have a contest with your staff.
We do. We actually do that a lot. And a few years back, we did a cocktail napkin competition for the holidays, where we gave out genuine cocktail napkins to all 35 or 40 of our staff at the time, and had them do a beautiful sketch on them. And then we had a collection, collected them all together and printed them on napkins and gave them out as holiday gifts.
That's a very, very clever idea. But the thing that I am very interested in is this traditional architecture that you did in Agora. Whether or not you sketched it out on cocktail napkins, trying to elicit what they had in mind, or how did you present to them?
The project always starts for us with, first and foremost, a deep discussion and kind of voyage of discovery with our clients, where initially we purposely avoid drawing and want to talk and understand our client's story and their passions and their goals and their life. And once we have an understanding of that, then we can kind of tell that story back to them through their architecture. But once we start to draw, it always starts with sketching and drawing, not on cocktail napkins generally, although we do use a lot of sketch paper and burn a lot of paper and graphite to tease out the ideas. But it always starts with that kind of, I think, creative deep dive.
A story about cocktail napkins is I designed furniture for manufacturers, and I was visiting one of my manufacturers for my case goods, my wood pieces, And I had sketched an idea on a cocktail napkin, and we gave it to his craftsmen, is what they are. And we went to lunch, and we came back from lunch, and one of the guys had already built one of the pieces.
Isn't that marvelous?
I was just absolutely blown away that he could create that, because I don't do shop drawings.
Yeah.
I do, sort of drawings, and my son-in-law designs furniture too, and we did a collaborative piece, which unfortunately they're moving, so I inherited it. So I'm thrilled.
How wonderful that you were able to communicate that idea through a drawing, though. I think that's the
Well, I do
essence
know
of it.
measurements,
Yeah.
So I know what the sizes should be, but I am not, and my pieces really are simplistic. They're not intricate with a lot of moldings and what have you, so it's relatively easy, I guess.
I teach drawing for the ICAA, the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art. I've taught for them for many years, and I really believe in the power of the connection between your mind and your eye and the hand and pencil and paper.
Absolutely.
I think it's in some ways it's becoming a bit of a lost art as young designers and architects become obsessed with the computer and with digital processes. I think we've lost a little bit of that ability to draw and convey an idea through a sketch. And so I'm always encouraging my staff to draw as much as possible.
But you're known for some of your drawings. Mm-hmm. Yes, and they're valued. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Do you know Michael Ebert?
Oh, I do. Michael's a good friend.
Well, I've known him
and a wonderful architect.
Almost 30 years.
Oh, that's great.
And his drawings, I just adore.
Amazing. And he's a wonderful watercolorist as well.
He is.
And it's watercolor has become something that's intrinsic to his design process. And I think in some ways it's a little it's the same for me, although a bit different in that I'm not a watercolorist. I do watercolor, but not quite on the level of Michael. Mm-hmm. But sketching and drawing by hand to capture the idea is kind of fundamental, I think, to our process.
Now, you did this project in Agora Hills with Joe Lucas.
I did.
The interior designer.
Yeah, Joe, again, a good friend and a wonderfully talented man.
How do you find that symbiotic, I guess?
Oh, we love working with good designers. Yeah. I think from time to time in the past, there's been a bit of perhaps a competitive relationship between architects and interior designers. But frankly, Joe, I don't understand that. I've never understood it. What we do is a team sport, and it's a collaborative process. It takes many people to do a beautiful building, and many voices in the chorus are necessary to make the beautiful music. And so I love working with good interior designers, particularly if they're bringing a unique point of view, something maybe I hadn't thought of, or bring an approach to something that hadn't occurred to us before. It just makes the project richer. And
that's a gift.
It is a gift.
Because I've seen architects walk through a house that they've designed after the designer has come in, and I've heard things like, "Why did you do that to this room?"
That happens from time to time. But with a guy like Joe, for example, he brings such a fresh point of view to what he's doing, and an element of surprise in so many ways. And he's also really, really good at I think, understanding the client and kind of channeling something personal about them into his design. And that was definitely true with the house in Agora Hills.
Now, you grew up in Calabasas, or you've lived in Calabasas.
I lived in Calabasas for many years. I grew up in Tarzana, actually, in the valley, so I'm a valley boy for sure. Born in Santa Monica, and then my parents ultimately ended up settling in Tarzana when I was 7. And I grew up in the marvelous big San Fernando Valley filled with...
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
I'm sorry?
Tarzan.
Yeah,
And,
That's exactly
did
right.
you ever go through the...
We actually lived very close to his property, his old property there.
Interesting.
It was a different place back then.
I guess
The
so.
valley was a wide open kind of amazing adventure for me when I was a kid. I'd take off on my bike and ride all day through the grapefruit orchards and the orange orchards,
Right.
and it was a great adventure.
Well, I'm an East Coaster, and I've been here 34 years, and I just love listening to the history. And as you know, this was hallowed ground. It was the former Harry Warner estate.
Yeah.
And then he turned it into a production facility, and now it's the Calabasas Country Club.
It's a great story.
But the other thing that had sort of attracted me is the fact that the community center, Robert A.M. Stern designed. And I think we're very fortunate to have that as the anchor to this community.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And I think they've kept it up in a very good way. Now, tell me a little bit about your Montecito experience, because you created a swimming hole.
We did. We did. That's a good story. So our client for the Montecito project, we had actually designed a house for them down in Los Angeles, in Venice. And, their life was evolving, their kids were moving around, and things were evolving. And they eventually found this wonderful property up in Montecito that originally they contacted us to do a light remodeling on the house that was there. Eventually that evolved into a complete tear down of the house and a reimagination of the property.
Wow.
It's about 2.5 acres of rolling hillside covered with beautiful oak trees, and it's just so old California.
Right.
Yeah, it's
That's what
just
impressed
lovely.
me about that project.
And so that project became both an architecture project for us and a landscape project as well. So the landscape plan there is every bit as important as the architecture of the house is.
Well, the swimming area has its own beach, and it's a magical spot, the way you
It's
create
amazing.
it.
It's a natural swimming pool, which is, we actually work with a consultant to design it, but it's a pool that doesn't use any kind of chemicals or chlorine or anything like that. The water is filtered naturally, almost like a fish tank. So the water is drawn down through the gravel underneath the pond, and then is filtered and then reintroduced into the pond. So it's filtered naturally. And there's a portion in the center of the pool which has walls that come almost up to the surface and kind of keep that area in the middle clean, and so that it's easily swam in. But the surrounding part has aquatic plants, it has fish in it. So it's really like a swimming hole that you might encounter.
Was it a spring that you found?
Nope.
You created it.
We created it. But it has the appearance of a natural pond, and beautiful water lilies and fish and
I've
frogs.
seen pictures of it. I think it's spectacular.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it feels just right there.
Now, also, a project in Las Vegas has a great California historic feeling.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting one. It was an unusual situation where we had an interior designer who we'd worked with on many projects before came to us because she wanted to design her own house and had enjoyed working with us on various projects that she wanted us to work with her to create her home. So
Taylor
Borsari, wonderful interior designer, very talented. And so we designed a beautiful Spanish house for her in the desert in Las Vegas, which at first glance feels a little unusual, but the truth is that Mediterranean architecture, the thick plaster walls and the deep set windows and the kind of coolness of those shady areas, loggias and courtyards, really works perfectly in the desert. And So it feels natural there.
And you used product that was indigenous to historic elements?
Yeah, we there's a fair amount of cut and carved stone on the project, and beautiful limestones, and I think that the material palette there feels just right for the architecture.
Yeah, it's I've seen photographs of that too, and it really was a tour de force. I mean,
oh, thank you. Yeah, I just love that kind of Mediterranean architecture, and being a Southern Californian and working here and having so many clients come to us wanting a Mediterranean house. We've grown over the years to just love the style, and it just looks and feels so right here in the Western United States, and particularly in Southern California, and it also functions perfectly well in our climate and our environment. So it's a wonderful choice of style.
Is that where you decided to take your focus or your expertise rather than getting involved in contemporary structures?
Yeah, my journey's been an interesting one. It's been a meandering journey. I was trained a modernist architect, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, graduated in the early 80s, and I came out of school as a modernist true believer, and over the years designed many modernist buildings. But sometimes your journeys take you in interesting directions, and I did some travel, spent time in Europe, went to great cities, and couldn't help but be kind of mesmerized by the beautiful urbanism in Europe. And I mean, walking down the streets of Paris can affect you for sure. Yeah. And it did me, and I was kind of swept away over time by the beauty of the traditional architecture there. And then coming back to California, I started to think about why couldn't we do work like that?
Did you live in Paris?
No, I never lived in Paris, but spent lots of time there. I wish I had. Yeah. I inevitably, if I go to Paris, I say, "Gosh, I could live here."
Many people do, But I should. A funny thing, because I should tell my producer, maybe we should rename this to "What's Your Journey?" Because everyone that I interview, it seems like they have had an interesting journey, and I don't know why it evolves that way, but I guess
I wouldn't trade any of it for anything.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's all informed where I am today as a designer, and I do love a lot of modern architecture, and I admire it. Our firm does modern work.
Yes.
But over the years, my trajectory has taken me to the classical, because I believe the traditional and classical architecture has a unique capability to connect with people and provide beauty for them. And that's
it's
really
very
what
interesting, because in our life, and we've traveled all over the world, and thanks to HGTV, but we've also made the transition from the East Coast to the West Coast. And my wife and I have always dreamed of having a contemporary structure with our more antique traditional furnishings. And it just so happens that we've finally landed that particular environment. I think this probably will be our last before we enter the nursing home, but I just think it works well together.
It does, and very often the projects that we do that reside somewhere in the middle are the most interesting. I think the modern for me is really about how we live today, the particulars of our modern lifestyle and our technology and all the way our lives have changed over the years. But the classical is about the time-tested and the things that endure.
Exactly.
And so I really think that the balance between the two is really important, and that's what we do. You know,
I think, have you ever been to Williamsburg
I
in
have.
Virginia? I think the idea which the Rockefellers had of the living museum, and we have stayed in some of the restored houses and enjoyed our stay, but that looking back and how they lived in that time, how does it affect the way people are living today?
well, I think that obviously our technology is different. We have iPhones and widescreen TVs and all of this, and there's particulars about the way we live today that are different than the way people lived in colonial Williamsburg.
Right.
But that's one set of considerations, but there's also the things that we share. And I've always said that I'm much more interested in how we're the same as our ancestors as how we're different from them. Because those are the things that the classical addresses, the elements of our human nature that are the same, the desire for shelter and for comfort and for beauty and for security and the importance of hearth and home and family. These are the things that were the same as for the Romans as they are for us.
That's right.
And so, I think it's really important to keep those things in mind. And those are the things that I think that harken back to the old days that really inform my work, as well as the modern conveniences.
Do you feel that you are enhancing the lifestyle of your clients?
It's what we do.
Yeah.
I think it's our highest aspiration is to make people's lives better.
That's right.
And to provide them with joy and beauty in their environment. I mean, if I can do that, I'm a successful architect.
Absolutely. Now, have you found that people like more of a flow-through kind of? Is there a formal dining room involved, or does the dining room evolve?
That's a good question, Joe. I think the planning of houses is certainly different today. People's desires and their lifestyles are different than they were 100 years ago. Kitchens 100 years ago were very back of house and small, and you didn't spend time in the kitchen, for example. But now kitchens are where we live, and they become the center of family life. So every house we do in one way or another has that kind of connectivity between kitchen and family room and breakfast room, and the kitchens become a place to congregate and kind of the center, which is very different than a house built in the turn of the century would be. We're not interested in creating period homes. It's not what I do. We really want to use the language of classical architecture to say something thoughtful about how we live now.
Right. And do men get involved more in the kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every project is different, but we certainly have, couples where the man is the cook.
Right.
I'm the guy that cooks at home in our house, so I
What's
cook
the
dinner
secret?
every night.
What's the secret? How do you prepare for
I don't know.
that?
I just
'Cause
found I enjoy cooking over the years.
you
and
live a very busy schedule, so I don't know how you find time, because I love
it's
to cook.
hard.
Yeah.
And my wife is a perfectly fine cook, and when she gets the opportunity, she does a wonderful job. But I do most of the cooking at home.
Well, now we do get involved in food on this series.
Wonderful.
So what are your famous go-to typical during the week dinners?
Well, I have a very famous recipe for pork chops that I developed. I call them Tuscan pork chops, and I developed it over years. That's a house favorite. We certainly have it once or twice a week. So happy to share the recipe someday.
Can I? Is it a sweet and sour kind of thing, or an Asian?
No, it's a thin kind of scallopini
Wow.
breaded pork chop, Super easy, broiled in the oven. Sage is the key for pork, in my opinion. So
Now, will that be involved in your new book?
my book is not about cooking. Maybe someday I'll do a
Yes,
cooking book.
yes. Let's hear a little bit about your book.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so proud of it. It was such hard work. And
It is.
we've been working on it for about a year. We just completed it and shipped it all off to Rizzoli just a few weeks ago. So very excited. It's in print right now and will be released by Rizzoli in September. It's being printed. But you can buy advanced copies. Amazon is selling a pre-order.
Oh, good.
As is Rizzoli. So
And
it's
again, the
available.
title?
The title is Shaping the World as a Home.
Right.
The Houses and Gardens of Eric Evans. And we're really proud of it. It's an interesting book. It's not a typical architect's monograph. We really tried to speak to a typical homeowner or someone that's not an architect that's interested in architecture, and tried to explain a bit about my philosophy about how we approach what we do and the things that we think are important in creating beautiful homes for people. So the first half of the book is about philosophy, about our design values. And it's lushly photographed with a variety of our projects. And then the second half of the book is a deep dive into 5 homes. The Montecito home is one of them. The Agora Hills home is another.
Fantastic. Now, is it the kind of book that's a cocktail table kind of book?
Absolutely, yeah. It's large format, really beautiful, wonderful photography that we've amassed over the years.
Well, I applaud you because there are not many being produced these days. It's all being done digitally and online, and I'm a big design book collector, so.
Yeah, there's nothing like a book.
Yeah.
And, collecting imagery online is convenient and efficient, but there's nothing like cracking open a book and feeling the paper and seeing
Absolutely.
the imagery in large format and high resolution.
Well, I'll be sure that's on my list.
Wonderful.
And now let's talk a little bit about your sailing. You're an avid sailor.
I am. I've been a sailor since I was a little one. My dad, when I was just a few years old, my dad, who was a wonderful sailor and a real devotee, he bought a 28-foot Nordic sailboat, all mahogany, really beautiful. And I grew up sailing on that boat and subsequent boats that he owned. But he really taught me a love of it, both of the act of sailing, which is enriching and wonderful, but also working on sailboats and working with my hands to maintain them and repair them. And so it's become a big passion for me over the years. I'm a sailboat racer, so I've raced
To
sailboats.
Bermuda? Or did you join
To Hawaii. I've sailed to Hawaii on the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race 4 times, and done a lot of races in Mexico. I raced a few summers when I was a teenager in Europe, racing dinghies there, and whatever it is.
That's another book.
It might be. There's a little bit of sailing in our current book with Rizzoli, so in the philosophy section.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've always said that any time spent sailing is time well spent.
Well, I've always used the analogy with my children that life is like sailing, that you tack. You don't go straight.
That's absolutely true.
Success is a journey, not a destination,
It is indeed, and I think that as with many of the things that are worthwhile in life, sailing's a bit like this, that it is about the experience. It's not just getting from here to there.
Right, and teamwork.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, absolutely true.
Now, you're the father of 3 children.
I am.
And any of them pursue your career?
Not one of them yet. My oldest kids are in their 30s and out in the world. Tegan is up in in Portland, musician, and my son Tom is here in Los Angeles. He is a IT manager for a corporation here in Southern California. And we have a 15-year-old daughter, 16, she just turned 16.
Interesting age.
Yes, she is lovely and trying to figure the world out, and we're so proud of her.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you is your advice. Now, of course, in your book, you have that, but your secret to giving your clients what they want and how they want to live.
That's a really good question. I think that our process has always been highly collaborative, and I'm very, very interested in listening carefully to my clients and understanding their world in a deep and nuanced way, and then helping them kind of reflect that back in their architecture. So we don't have a signature style that we work in. I'm not interested in taking my design agenda and kind of forcing my client to accept it. I'm much more interested in telling their story and helping guide them to a good place that's consistent with that. So listening is
very, very important.
A big part of it.
But are you an aficionado of some of the wonderful California architects like Wallace Neff or
of course,
Neutra or...
We have such a great tradition of wonderful Mediterranean architecture,
Right.
For example, here in Southern California. So George Washington Smith, Wallace Neff, these are all kind of giants for us and are a consistent inspiration for us.
What inspires you living in California? Is it obviously you're into nature, into gardens and whatever, but is there something specific that you draw on for your inspirations?
Oh, absolutely. I think California is a consistent inspiration for our work, even if we're working in other states. So many clients come to us saying, we want a California home. And I think that means a connection to nature. I think it means a thoughtful connection between the architecture and the land. But also the culture and the character of Southern California is wonderfully inviting. You know, I think there's a kind of an attitude here in Southern California of trying new things, of anything goes, you know, of embracing, you know, interesting and unique points of view. And that's constantly stimulating. So it's a really wonderful thing to take tradition and combine it with the new. And I think that characterizes really nicely what we do.
Now, you worked for Mark Appleton for
I did.
a period of time.
I did. Mark was very much a mentor for me, remains a close friend. He wrote the introduction to my book.
Ah, that's fantastic.
Which is great. And Mark was formative for me. Mark's point of view about architecture was really formative for me and really, I think, kind of sealed my passion for traditional and classical architecture. He taught me that the power of those languages of architecture to make people's lives better.
It's so interesting because I've had a number of people say, why do I need an architect? And in reality, they need an architect to open vistas.
Yep.
Not to be, creating an analogy, but the fact being that they can't see for themselves what you can see.
Right. I think we want to show our clients all of the things that are possible. And that takes experience, takes talent and knowledge and good taste.
And years of experience.
Yep.
And you're young.
Well, bless you. Turned 65 this year. So.
Well, that's young to me. I just can't thank you enough for spending this time with us.
Oh, it was such a pleasure.
And I'm sure that you've given some great advice to our listeners who enjoy this kind of discussion. I think design, architecture, food, gardening, all the things that you represent just are so inspiring to me, and I'm sure my listeners as well.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thanks for having me.